the intro to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be using it to record a few videos for my Philosophy 300 class. And the first video that I'm going to record is going to be about what makes life meaningful. And I hope you guys like it. You guys can leave comments, questions, concerns down below. Making one's life meaningful may seem daunting and hard to approach without an understanding for what factors go into leading a meaningful life. Socrates, the philosopher originating from Alopecia, Athens, was centered on social ethical issues regarding the well-being of society and life for society. His philosophical theories have helped improve society as a whole and build a strong foundation for how we behave as people. Socrates believed that the method to understanding a meaningful life is by first understanding how to live. Socrates used rhetoric to question our morals, values, and ethics as a society, and how those dictate our choices and actions in our lives. Factors such as social class, religion, diet, and ethics dictated how people approach their lives and how to live them. I believe that after extensive research, what makes life meaningful are ethics, wisdom, and self-discipline. In this video, I'm going to be discussing why these three factors are the most important to making life meaningful. First, I want to start out with what ethics is. According to the Greek philosopher Socrates, ethics are defined as norms by which acceptable and unacceptable behavior are measured. He believed one develops ethics through maturity, wisdom, and love. First, I'm going to start out with what ethics is. According to the Greek philosopher Socrates, ethics are norms by which acceptable and unacceptable behavior are measured. He believes that one develops ethics through maturity, wisdom, and love. Ethics is the most important factor to living a meaningful life because in order to answer questions, make choices, and build a future for yourself, you first have to understand what is acceptable and unacceptable to do in one's personal life. For me personally, I have to make the ethical choice to either be a college student and work part-time or work full-time and take out a mortgage. I have to choose what acceptable and unacceptable behavior is for me ethically as a college student. Another example would be for America to implement martial law during the coronavirus pandemic and keep everyone inside. That's choosing what acceptable and unacceptable behavior as a society that we can make. And some might believe that ethics isn't the most important factor to living a meaningful life. The opposing side could argue that ethics is debatable. What's wrong or acceptable for some might be unacceptable for others. But that's why Socrates is correct by stating that ethics is developed through wisdom and learning what is right or wrong personally. Wisdom is also another very important factor to living a meaningful life. Wisdom is the second most important factor to living a meaningful life because in order to understand your society, your religion, your family, or yourself, one must first learn and gain insight to what is significant and true personally. According to Socrates, wisdom is related to one's personal insight about one's extent of knowledge. If this is true, one must first gain full knowledge to appropriately approach the issue. Personally, I need wisdom in order to appropriately interact, react, and teach my students as an after-school teacher. For example, when my students don't want to do homework, or if they would rather color than do silent reading, I have to have the wisdom to appropriately redirect my students' energy to something more positive. Another example of wisdom is Yoda needing wisdom to properly train the Jedi in Star Wars. We all know Yoda was pretty wise. He needed a deep, full understanding of the Force in order to be wise enough to help Obi-Wan Kenobi and everyone. You know, some might argue that wisdom isn't important, but I believe that in order to develop an understanding of one's ethics, one must first be wise to fully understand the whole issue inside and out before judging if it's ethical or not. Self-discipline is the third most important factor of having a meaningful life, because without self-discipline, one cannot control themselves enough to act upon their wisdom and their ethics. According to Plato's Gorgias, written in 350 BC, a dialogue with Socrates and a group of people at a dinner discussed self-control and its importance in order to understand tyranny and society as a whole. According to Plato, self-control means ruling the pleasures and passions within oneself. If that's correct, then one must control themselves enough to control your impulses and passions that do not benefit to having a meaningful life. For me personally, I have to have enough self-control to juggle my work, my social life, my personal life, my family life, and my responsibilities in order to live a meaningful life. I need to be wise enough to control myself from doing what I know is right or wrong ethically. Self-discipline is the third most important factor to having a meaningful life, because without self-discipline, one cannot control themselves enough to act upon their wisdom and their ethics. According to Plato's Gorgias, written in 350 BC, a dialogue with Socrates and a small group at a dinner discussed self-control and its importance in order to understand tyranny and society as a whole. According to Plato, self-control means ruling the pleasures and passions within oneself. If this is correct, then one must control oneself enough to control impulses and passions that do not benefit to having a meaningful life. Personally, I need to have enough self-control to juggle socializing and having a personal life in my career and college. I need to know what is wise for me to do in order to have a meaningful life. As a society, we have laws and regulations in place to control us from doing what we know collectively is right or wrong. Some might argue that self-discipline is not needed in order to have a meaningful life, that one must act upon all impulses to be happy, or that self-discipline isn't a factor of being happy. This is wrong because one cannot follow their ethical compass or be wise enough to choose from right or wrong if one does not have enough self-control to say yes or no. All in all, I believe that in order to have a meaningful life, one must have ethics to know what is right and wrong for oneself, wisdom to understand fully what is needed, and the self-discipline to know when and how to act on choices in the most positive way to lead a path of meaning in one's life. I hope you guys found this useful. Please leave a comment. Tell me your questions or concerns, and let me know how you feel about what makes one's life meaningful. Thank you for watching my first video, and be very patient with me. Thank you.